My sister stole my identity, maxed out my cards, and tried to marry my fiancé, but I had the ultimate revenge. I'm still reeling from everything that happened, and I don't even know where to begin. My sister, Clara, has always been the golden child. Perfect grades, head cheerleader, homecoming queen, the works. I, on the other hand, was always just me. Average grades, a little nerdy, preferred books to parties. Our parents, God bless them, always tried to be fair, but even they couldn't help but dote on Clara. Everything revolved around her, her achievements, her needs, her desires. It was just an unspoken rule in our household. I learned to live with it, to exist in her shadow. It wasn't always easy, but I figured that's just how families were sometimes. Things really started to spiral out of control about 2 years ago. I had just landed my dream job as a graphic designer at a pretty prestigious agency. It paid well, offered amazing benefits, and I was finally able to save up for a down payment on a small condo. I was ecstatic. I remember telling Clara about it, and she gave me this strange, almost calculating look. I brushed it off, thinking she was just surprised by my success. Clara had a habit of underestimating me. She was still bouncing between various passion projects, none of which ever really took off, and she was living rent-free in our parents' guest house, which, to be fair, was practically a mansion around the same time I met Mark. He was an engineer, incredibly kind, hilarious, and just genuinely good-hearted. We hit it off immediately, and our relationship progressed pretty quickly. Within a year, we were talking about marriage, and a few months after that, he proposed on a beautiful beach at sunset. It was magical. I was over the moon. Mark was everything I had ever wanted in a partner, and I felt like my life was finally falling into place. Of course, Clara had to weigh in. She immediately started making snide comments about Mark's profession, his car, his boring hobbies. She even insinuated that he wasn't good enough for me, which was rich coming from her. I tried to ignore her, but it started to chip away at my happiness. Mark, bless his patient soul, just laughed it off, saying he felt sorry for her because she clearly had a lot of insecurities. The first hint that something was truly wrong came when I started getting calls from my bank about suspicious activity on my credit cards. Charges for designer clothes, expensive spa treatments, and lavish dinners at restaurants I'd never even heard of. I immediately reported it as fraud, and the bank was very understanding. They cancelled my cards and issued new ones. I was annoyed, but figured it was just an unfortunate case of identity theft. Then it happened again. And again. Each time, the charges were for things Clara would love. High-end boutiques, luxury resorts, even a down payment on a flashy sports car that I knew she had been eyeing. A cold dread started to creep over me. I tried to deny it, to push the thought away, but the evidence was piling up. I started to notice small things missing from my apartment, a utility bill, a bank statement, even a spare key I kept hidden under a potted plant that I confronted Clara. I tried to be gentle at first, hoping she would confess and we could work through it. I asked her if she knew anything about the fraudulent charges. She looked me dead in the eye, feigned innocence, and then exploded, accusing me of being paranoid and jealous of her fabulous life. She even started crying, claiming I was trying to ruin her reputation. Our parents, predictably, took her side, telling me I was being unfair and that Clara would never do such a thing. They told me to apologize to her. I was furious, but I knew arguing with them was pointless, that I decided to take matters into my own hands. I installed hidden cameras in my apartment, changed all my locks, and set up alerts for every transaction on my accounts. It felt extreme, like something out of a spy movie, but I was desperate. I also started keeping a detailed log of every suspicious incident. It didn't take long. A few weeks later, I got an alert for a large purchase at a high-end jewelry store. I checked the camera footage from my apartment. There, clear as day, was Clara, using a spare key to let herself in, rummaging through my mail, and then leaving with a stack of envelopes. My heart sank. The betrayal was like a physical blow. I contacted the police, armed with the camera footage and all the evidence I had collected. They were initially skeptical, but when they saw the clear footage of Clara entering my apartment and taking my mail, they started to take me seriously. They launched an investigation, and I had to cooperate fully, which meant answering a lot of uncomfortable questions about my sister. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. While the police investigation was ongoing, things with Mark were progressing beautifully. We had set a wedding date, booked a venue, and were in the midst of planning our dream wedding. Clara, surprisingly, seemed to back off. She stopped making snide comments and even offered to help with some of the wedding preparations. I was wary, but I wanted to believe she was turning over a new leaf. I wanted to believe my sister wasn't a monster. I was wrong. So wrong point one afternoon, I was at the wedding venue, going over floral arrangements with the coordinator, when my phone rang. It was Mark, and he sounded incredibly distressed. He told me he had just received a text message from an unknown number, claiming to be me, saying I was having second thoughts about the wedding and wanted to call it off. He knew it wasn't me, he said, but he was incredibly worried. He asked if everything was all right. My blood ran cold. I immediately knew who it was. Clara. But why? What was her endgame? I rushed home, heart pounding in my chest. I called Mark and told him I would be there as soon as I could. When I arrived, Mark was waiting, looking relieved to see me. He showed me the text messages. They were clearly designed to sow doubt and fear, to make him believe I was bailing on him. But it was worse than that. There were also messages implying I was secretly seeing someone else, that I had never truly loved him. It was a calculated, cruel attack. As we were discussing what to do, my phone rang again. It was a restricted number. I answered, and it was Clara. Her voice was syrupy sweet, dripping with fake concern. She said, "Oh, darling sister, I heard about your little crisis with Mark. Don't worry, I'm here to pick up the pieces. He's always had a soft spot for me, you know." My stomach lurched. The audacity, the sheer evil of it, took my breath away. She was trying to steal my fiancé. My sister was trying to steal my fiancé, while simultaneously ruining my credit and destroying my reputation. I kept her on the phone, trying to keep my voice steady, while motioning to Mark to record the conversation. I played along, feigning distress, asking her what she meant. She gloated, detailing how she had been sending Mark anonymous messages for weeks, subtly undermining our relationship, and how she was going to comfort him after I inevitably left him at the altar. She even revealed that she had opened several more credit cards in my name, and was planning a lavish honeymoon with Mark, using my money. The things she said, the pure malice in her voice, made me sick to my stomach. She was completely unhinged. The police had already been building a case against her for the identity theft. With the recording of her confession and her explicit intent to interfere with my wedding and my relationship, they now had everything they needed. They acted quickly. 2 days before my wedding, Clara was arrested. The news spread like wildfire through our small town. Our parents were mortified, trying to deny everything, claiming it was a misunderstanding. But the evidence was overwhelming. Clara confessed everything to the police, probably hoping for a lighter sentence, or maybe just wanting to finally admit to her warped machinations. She admitted to stealing my mail, opening credit cards in my name, making fraudulent purchases, and attempting to sabotage my relationship with Mark. She also admitted to trying to marry Mark, believing she was truly entitled to my life. The fallout was immense. Our parents were completely devastated, their perfect golden child exposed as a criminal. They initially tried to blame me for ruining their family, for sending their precious Clara to jail. But even they couldn't ignore the mountain of evidence against her. They eventually came around, albeit reluctantly, and apologized to me. It was a hollow apology, but an apology nonetheless. The wedding, surprisingly, went off without a hitch. Mark and I decided not to let Clara's actions overshadow our special day. We informed only our closest friends and family about what happened, and everyone was incredibly supportive. We had a beautiful, intimate ceremony, surrounded by people who truly loved and cared for us. It was a bittersweet victory, knowing my sister was behind bars, but also feeling a profound sense of relief and closure. Clara was sentenced to several years in prison for identity theft, fraud, and attempted interference with a marriage. I had to testify against her, which was incredibly difficult. Seeing her in court, stripped of her perfect facade, was both heartbreaking and vindicating. I chose to pursue restitution for all the financial damages she caused, and the court sided with me. She will be paying me back for years to come. My relationship with my parents is still strained. They visit Clara in prison regularly, and they still try to make excuses for her behavior. I've tried to explain to them the depth of her betrayal, but they seem to be in denial. I've come to accept that I may never have the relationship with them that I once did. As for Mark and me, we are stronger than ever. The ordeal, as awful as it was, brought us closer together. He stood by me through everything, unwavering in his love and support. We've moved into our new home, and we are slowly but surely rebuilding our lives. I've had to work hard to repair my credit score and regain my financial stability, but I'm getting there. I still have moments of anger and sadness, thinking about the sister I thought I had. But mostly, I feel a sense of peace. I'm finally free from her shadow, free from her constant need to compete and destroy. I have my own life now, my own happiness, and I don't have to look over my shoulder anymore. I never thought I would say this, but in a strange, twisted way, Clara's malicious actions led to my ultimate freedom. It's a messed up way to get there, but I'm finally living my own truth.